Let's check out our quick picks going into this weekend of all of the ranked teams. So yeah, we're moving that from the Wednesday show over here on Monday. Let's jump in with the lower ranked teams. Let's start with Eastern Carolina heading over to Tulane. We're going to go with the Green Wave. That's an easy pick, even though the Pirates have been all right. Army, obviously they lost to Tarleton State and then fell when they visited the Pirates a couple weeks ago. But we think Tulane, their offense, a little too high powered for East Carolina to handle. We got Iowa State heading over to Boulder, Colorado for the first time since 2011. Yeah, when the Puffs left for the Pac-12 is the last time these two met. And yeah, we're obviously going to go Iowa State. They are dealing with some injuries, but I think they're going to be more than capable in bouncing back off of a tough loss there to Cincinnati in Week 6. We got Air Force heading over to UNLV to play the Running Rebels. Yeah, we're going to take UNLV. We think, though, Air Force should be testing them through the air, but unfortunately the Falcons' defense will most likely get exploited by, again, the Running Rebels. I really love Jet Thompson, the running back, again, for UNLV. He is a speedster there in the backfield. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they settled on, I think it's like Alexandria, but Corlandia, their quarterback, as Orgy kind of comes in for some running packages there for UNLV now. Cincinnati will be hosting UCF. We're obviously going to go with the Bearcats. They are newly ranked. And UCF has been disappointing us week after week. Not last week, though, because we picked Kansas over them. But they should not be disappointing us by beating, again, Cincinnati there on the road. North Texas hosts USF. This is going to be a Friday game, one of the weeknight games, just like the Tulane, East Carolina. So those are going to be one of the few games that you shouldn't be missing there on the weeknights. We're obviously going to go with the Bulls. It's kind of interesting, though. North Texas is favored by 1.5 points. This is one of the few games where the ranked team is not favored. North Texas is undefeated. They know how to score points. Very similar offense, I would say, to Texas Tech with that air raid approach. But USF should overpower them. Brown, the quarterback, he's a stud, especially when he gets downhill with that ball. We got Georgia Tech next up, hosting Virginia Tech. This is one of my favorite games, just in general. I wish this game actually occurred on a weeknight, because that's usually, as a kid, when I watched it. The Yellow Jackets, for sure. Virginia Tech has also been disappointing us, not just in the beginning of the season, but the last couple of weeks, where I think we picked them, they lost, and then last week we picked them again, and then they lost. It was like, Hokies doing hokey things to us. No, it is what it is. Let's go Yellow Jackets there, as they're favored by 15 points. That's kind of crazy. One of the interesting ones this upcoming weekend, and it's a top 25 matchup here at your Sports Outpost. That is Arizona State heading up to Salt Lake City to take on the Utah Utes. Probably one of the best games you'll be watching this weekend, and it's a good thing because it's one of those late kickoffs as well. So when all those other games have ended, you can stay up late and get tuned in for some Utes and Arizona State football. If Utah wins, this is going to set up a massive game next week for the Holy War, which I cannot wait to see. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing a watch along like we did last year, I don't think. I'll have to check the schedule to double check if I'm not mistaken, or maybe that's the game we'll do next week. But for this weekend, obviously, we're doing the Red River rivalry. We're going to go Utes. They have been better at home as of late. But the last time Arizona State did get 2 in a row, it was back in Salt Lake City. I think it was like 2016 again. We'll see if the Sun Devils can get a big win. Again, they're on the road, as they've been pretty solid in Tempe the last 2 seasons, which means including this past season, as they just beat TCU. Texas State Technically, they beat Mississippi State last year at home, but also they beat the Utes. They're in hot Tempe. One of the, again, biggest games, we'll be doing the watch long of the Red River rivalry, like I mentioned. We got Oklahoma versus Texas. This is that other game, just like the USF North Texas one, where the ranked team is not favored. That's Oklahoma, as the Longhorns are favored by 3 points at the moment. We'll see if that changes when we go through. I think it's 54 or 53 games here in week 7. See if that line moves. We're going to go with the Longhorns, not because of that, obviously, line being set. We just think because of the John Mateer situation and him probably not being 100% and ready to go in this game. I think we would have went with the Sooners, especially with what happened last week in Gainesville for Texas. Their offensive line has just been atrocious. And that's kind of the reason why Arch Manning is just having a bad time. And then on top of that, they were not able to run the ball. If they continue that trend this upcoming weekend against Oklahoma, well, they can definitely have some issues. But we think they're going to get everything in line with their defense and turning the ball over, which they did this past weekend against the Gators. They just were not rewarded there with points. But with this kind of game, anything can kind of go as well. And we think it's going to go Texas's way. We got Tennessee hosting Arkansas. This game last year, Arkansas got the upset over the Volunteers. They're in Fayetteville. This time around, it's in Knoxville. Yeah. Arkansas not going to be having a good time. Even though Petrino coming back in as the interim head coach, he's just not going to have enough magic to get one over Tennessee. Then on top of that, there is obviously some issues there in the secondary for the Volunteers, but I don't think Arkansas is going to be good enough to exploit that, as the Volunteers, again, are favored by 12.5. So that is the first set of games. That's 9 of 18 occurring between ranked teams. As let's continue to move from 25 now to 12. We got LSU hosting South Carolina. Now, this could be the beginning of Cocktober, as the Gamecocks will have a crazy stretch of games, starting with this matchup there in Baton Rouge against the Bayou Bengals, who are favored by 9.5 points. It's a late kickoff, but we'll see again if South Carolina can get things going. Last year, they came up short for, I think, their first ever win since 1994, I believe, against, again, LSU. And if I'm not mistaken, that was also in Baton Rouge, the last time they actually beat, again, those Tigers down there in Louisiana. We're going to go with LSU. Their defense, pretty good. The offense just having trouble there, again, with their offensive lines. Very similar to what we're seeing there in Austin with Texas. But yeah, let's take LSU there. Hopefully they finally get a running game going here in week 7. BYU heads over to Tucson to take on Arizona. Arizona, they're coming off a bye, so they have a decent amount of time preparing for this one, as they got blown out by Iowa State there in Ames a couple weeks ago. But for BYU, they've just been consistent. I think their defense is just one of the best in the country. They cause a lot of turnovers, and I'm guessing that's going to be happening again, even on the road for them. I think they kind of like love playing on the road more than playing at home. Kind of makes no sense. I just kind of get that feeling when I watch the Provo Cougs playing this season so far. They're only favored by 2.5 points, so this might be one that should come down to the line. Very similar to the game a couple of weeks ago where BYU had to go on the road against Colorado. They went down 14 points to start off that contest, but ended up coming up on top. That's because, again, defense and a great team overcoming that kind of deficit. That is what you should expect from a top 25 team, and they should be winning there against the Arizona Wildcats, who are not going to be bearing down, unfortunately, there in Tucson. We keep moving to Texas Tech hosting Kansas. We are going to go with the Red Raiders. coming off a bye. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Coming off a nice win against Houston. The week before was the bye. I think they're going to have some trouble. Jalen Daniels, he's just a tricky quarterback. But eventually they should be able to shut him down. Also create some mistakes. One thing they really do need to do is score points early. I just don't know how the running game's actually going to go. If Texas Tech can really run the ball effectively, yeah, Kansas is actually going to get blown out. As Texas Tech is favored by 14 points at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if they cover, but I also am afraid that this game might be a little closer than that 2 possession difference that's set up right now at the moment for the betting lines. I just think Kansas, they're just a tricky team sometimes. Last year they went on a crazy run. If I'm not mistaken, they beat Texas Tech. I have to double check that. Regardless, we're still going to go with Tech. Best run defense, which is not going to allow Jalen Daniels that cushion that he's going to need there probably for a lot of 3rd and longs and not 3rd and doables situations. Next up, I think we messed up on the graphic there. It should be in favor of Georgia. It's fine. It happens sometimes here on the channel. As we're going to go with Georgia there. I'll just fix it there when we do our clips. But I do have a lot of faith in Auburn. A couple of tough weeks. Norman, College Station. Here, they're just going to have another tough week against Georgia, who will figure out how to beat them. If Georgia loses this game, man, they are kind of screwed because they still have a lot of football against a lot of tough teams still left. Obviously, they got not through Alabama. They got through Tennessee, who would, be a top 25 team. But if I'm not mistaken, they still have, Georgia Tech, which is not a conference game technically. Ole Miss, Florida. They just beat Texas. It's going to be interesting. Going to be interesting if they do, especially because that Ole Miss game, which they, lost last season. If it's 2 in a row, that would be crazy for Lane Kiffin. So this is somewhat of a must-win. So they're not in so much of a hole. They definitely want to be defending their SEC title again there in Atlanta. But yeah, let's go Bulldogs there, even though we got the graphic wrong. Next up, we got Alabama in a top 10 fight against Missouri. Yeah, it's going to be a good one there in Columbia. Bama is favored by 3 points. I think that's a pretty interesting line. Actually, the same line that the Georgia-Auburn game is, and that's why I'm kind of worried also for the Bulldogs there. Here for Alabama, yeah. Missouri's a legit team. Ahmed Hardy, we talked about him in the offseason quite a bit. He was a freshman All-American for UL Monroe. Over 1,000 yards. I think it was like 1,200 actually, to be more precise. And then on top of that, Bo Pribula. He's just a solid guy. Dual threat guy as well. On top of that, he's a slew of weapons. Coleman Jr., who can help him move the chains. Marquise Johnson, who's just a big home run hitter. And, Alabama sometimes gives up those home runs. It's very possible that can happen here in this game. But, we're not going to go with the home team. I think it's still going to be close. That 3-point difference might be the end result there for most of the game. And then I would say Alabama, just like last week, will pull away with allowing themselves some breathing room because of the mistakes they will have from the Missouri offense is what I'm kind of thinking of. But I would say Missouri has just as good of a chance of winning this one, even though they're not favored at home. And if they do, man, this is just going to be a weird year in the Southeastern Conference for sure. Just an absolute mess. Regardless, again, we're going to go Alabama. Texas A&M. Yep. We are going... Well, yeah, we're going Aggies. This one also, like all these games in the SEC are going to be very hard to make picks for. because there's just first time things that are happening, especially the last couple of seasons where teams are beating teams that they usually don't. And now we have like Texas A&M and Ole Miss being the top ranked teams in the conference at the moment. It's just a little awkward, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. I just don't think the Gators will have it 2 weeks in a row. A&M's defense should be holding them off pretty well. A&M might have a better defense than Texas, actually, when I think about it. And then on top of that, Marcel Reed has been doing an excellent job. And then on top of that, he has one of the best offensive lines in the country. They're making holes and allowing him a decent amount of time. It seems also like the targets have been pretty lethal. Craver or Carver. You have Concepcion. Yeah, it's just a decent amount of talent alongside him in terms of weapons there in College Station. So yeah, let's go A&M. We got Ole Miss in a weird game hosting Washington State. At least Wazoo will stop doing these weird schedules that they've been dealing with the last 2 seasons as they're coming down again to Oxford. Yeah, Ole Miss. This is the biggest line set this week as the Rebels are favored by 32.5 points. Pretty crazy stuff right there. I think last week Penn State was favored by 42 against UCLA, so not close to that. But I would expect the scoreline to be covered for sure. This Ole Miss team has been just so good. So good. Like Lane Kiffin, his ability to turn over players from the transfer portal has been super impressive. That was like the one thing I was really worried about, especially in the offensive line. The guys coming in, you know, you only had 2 starters there that were really starting in the same position. One replaced the other because Williams there got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. And then now you bring in like a whole slew of new guys, and then another guy stepping up into a starting role. You just didn't know how it was all going to work again. And then at the quarterback position, you had Austin Simmons, who you were expecting to start. Now Trinidad Chablis has taken over the reins, is now becoming a Heisman favorite as well. It's just a crazy story. Already going for them. They got the big win in the Magnolia Bowl there against LSU. Obviously, they're going to win this game. Gustafson, if I'm saying that right, the defensive back safety for Ole Miss playing his old team, should be able to maybe get an interception or two here against the Cougars, who are having not the best of seasons. They're probably going to be having worse ones coming next year when the Pac-12 comes into play for those eight-membered conference now. But yeah, Oregon hosts Indiana. This is one of another biggest games of the weekend, and another not just top 10 but top 5 matchup. Yeah, we are being truly blessed here with some top ranked matchups going on. We're going to go with the Ducks. The last time Indiana played Oregon in Eugene, they got the job done, but that was more than 20 years ago now. Obviously different circumstances. I would say also Oregon was going through some transitions. I think that was a year after Joey Harrington left to go to the NFL, if you guys can remember that guy. But yeah, this Oregon team just really good there in the offensive line. Defensively also, you got Mateo Uiagalelei, Tuioti there on the opposite side of defensive end. Those two pairings are the best bookends in the country. And then on top of that, you guys got dudes all over the place, studs that Dan Lanning has been accumulating and also developing. That's one thing a lot of people don't give Coach Lanning there enough credit. He takes a lot of 3-star guys and really gives them, you know, the tools to be successful and turns them into 5-star really guys at their end of time there in Autzen Stadium is where this game's gonna be played. And yeah, Oregon doesn't lose at home very often, and they won't be losing to Indiana, we think. But who knows? Fernando Mendoza can have himself a night, as he's technically up there in terms of being a Heisman favorite. But we'll see. As again, we're gonna go Ducks. Illinois will be hosting Ohio State. there in Champaign. And actually, these final two games, Oregon will have game day. Illinois will have big noon kickoff, which will return to Champaign, Illinois. But unfortunately, yeah, this is going to be just a rough game for the Fighting Alumni, I think. I don't think it'll be a blowout like the Indiana game. I think that was not like a fluke blowout, but just things just not going their way. There was actually a lot of special teams plays that the Hoosiers just took advantage of, and that's kind of not only the reason why they pulled away, but they just were outclassing Illinois, who was kind of down one guy there in the defensive back positions, and then they lost another guy for targeting. Here against Ohio State, Julian Sain really growing into that starting role at quarterback, really distributing the ball well to Tate, Jeremiah Smith and company. But I think maybe the running game might be the issue for the Buckeyes against Illinois. If they're not able to run the ball, that might put some pressure on Julian Sain. That's kind of the only way I see them losing this contest there in Champaign, but I don't think it's going to happen. It's been a very, very long time since Illinois has beaten Ohio State. I think it was back in like 2007, and that's actually the last time Illinois had a great season where they lost in the Rose Bowl to USC. But yeah, we're going to go with Ohio State. They are the #1 team in the country for a reason, and they're going to be showing that this upcoming weekend against the Fighting Alumni, as they're favored by 14 points on the road there. And yep, that is the top 25 teams playing this upcoming weekend. Again, we're going to be doing this for our preludes to kind of split up the Wednesday and Sunday show into